Great to be here on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us. So much to get to on the show. We'll hear from Mark Bradley, AJC, sports columnist. He wrote a column entitled Stetson Bennett. I'm struggling today. Says Stetson Bennett need not defend himself. I'll do it for him. So we'll talk to Mark Bradley about that column. Also, Sean Pender, head football coach of the Brunswick High Pirates, will join us. He had the opportunity to coach two guys playing for a national championship on Monday, Stetson Bennett at Pierce County, and then Warren McClendon, offensive lineman, while he was at Brunswick High School. So we'll talk to him about those two gentlemen playing for a national championship there on Monday night. Then David Waters will join us from Gators Breakdown. Just interesting to talk with him about Billy Napier, some of the hires he's made, and how you're seeing what is happening there has happened in other places all across college football. The ballooning of staff salaries to get these analysts and guys in there. Recently hired a guy from the NFL, Bird Sherrill, as director of college personnel. His job, mainly recruit the transfer portal. That's it. So you see that kind of the changing roles of college coaches. We'll talk to David Waters about that. Then coming up in the final hour, it is Wednesday. We'll have Troop Talk, where Ben sits down with a guest each week. This week, Ben sits down with former NFL tight end Anthony Becht, and they cover everything from the NFL, Antonio Bryant, college football, his Antonio Brown, excuse me.
There was an Antonio Bryant that I did play with, too. That went to bed.
I'm sorry.
Did y'all talk about him?
I'm throwing names out there.
I mean, listen, if Bryant, either way, it was AB talking about AB.
There we go. Good segue. Ben Troop, we talked about his, I believe you guys said you talked about his son there, who is a college recruit, going to play quarterback at Iowa State. So interesting conversation coming up there with Ben and Anthony Becht for Troop Talk coming up in the final hour. And we mentioned quarterbacks. It's been an interesting year, Ben. Transfers happen every measure. There's no question this has been the biggest year for transfers. There's more guys that have entered the portal than have any other time since the transfer portal has been a thing. And a lot of them, Ben, you and I were talking about this, have been quarterbacks who are playing. Normally you see transfers happen. It's like, okay, this guy's not happy. He's not playing. There's a guy ahead of him on the depth chart, i.e. kind of a situation where, say it's at Georgia. If Stetson come back, okay, JT Daniels might play. He's ahead of Carson Becht and a couple of those guys. Maybe one of those guys transfer. I'm not playing. But Ben, we have seen the starting quarterback who is getting the playing time at the following schools transfer just this season: LSU, Southern Cal, Oklahoma, Auburn, Central Florida, Nebraska, Texas A&M. These are big P5 programs. One G5 in there, but Central Florida has been consistently a top 25 program. So G5, top 25 programs where the guy is starting. In Dylan Gabriel's case, if he came back to Central Florida, he was going to be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
They have all transferred, 2 at LSU and 2 at Oklahoma. What do you make of this, that even at successful programs where you are the starter and you could, because it can't all be, the competition scared me off. You're the starter. And we've seen these guys transfer out.
This is when perception and reality collide. Perception is recruiting, right? Let's just call it what it is. There are things that are said on the recruiting trail to get guys in. There's a movie, called The Program. There's a part in the movie when Omar Epps gets on campus and he says, "Hey man, what happened to all the cheerleaders in the band?" He's like, "Oh man, that was just to get you here, man. Now you just."
Was it Halle Berry?
Yeah.
Where'd Halle Berry go?
Where did Halle Berry go? And what you didn't know, that Halle Berry was the girlfriend of the current starting running back already on the team. Think about that. Then, so I think that what happens is, Kevin, this is the true essence of the transfer portal, because quarterbacks run all facets of football. Pop Warner, middle school, high school, college. So when you think about right now, these guys are saying, I'm looking at what's coming down the road. If you're a Caleb Williams, no one does it on the same day. Caleb waited. Caleb Williams is the latest, starter to going to the transfer portal. I don't know what went on. Venables and those guys are trying to do damage control. But I think this comes down to they're trying to be synonymous with a big program. I mean, one of the biggest shockers was, Bo Nix going to Oregon. Out of nowhere, I'm going to go to Oregon. I want to be attached to a big brand. All right, fine. But then when you start thinking about what these players really want to do at the quarterback position, they want all the fame. right? They want all the accolades. They want none of the blame. And when the team, because the one thing about it, I mean, listen, LSU, USC, Oklahoma, Auburn, UCF, Florida, Nebraska, Texas A&M, how many of those guys in the college football playoff? Zero. None of those teams win the college football playoff. So when you start thinking about not Gabriel, obviously, big time player, out of UCF. I just think that LSU, I do think I did know we talking about Max Johnson. I think it was a package deal or whatever, him and his brother and things of that nature. Kevin, this is the transfer portal. Now, just because you were a big name doesn't mean you're going to garner the same attention once you hit the portal. Like, I do know that some of these guys are already got big-time landing spots. Emory Jones, my alma mater, yes, gonna be going to the transfer portal, still played in the bowl game. He could have he didn't do himself any favors by going to the bowl game because everything they said about Emory Jones going to the game, he showed against UCF. So, Kevin, while it used to be, listen, we know who's the headliner. It's the quarterback. But you always got to ask yourself this: who do they have coming in, and who do they already have on campus? Because that's what you're dealing with now. Because the same thing that said, I don't look, and I could be wrong. 4-star, 5-star, no star. If you're a quarterback that could potentially come into my program, I'm telling you, you could potentially start. Why else would you come to a school? You could potentially start. Now, that word potential to a 17 to 24-year-old sounds like definitely. You said, no. This is what I'm saying. When you talk about the reality of college football, this is the reality. Caleb Williams, I was just as shocked, but it's funny. Kevin, as long as you had, we work, you, and I'm not talking about this employer. You have an employer. Everything goes good. But when you get fired, everything comes out about why, you didn't want to be there. So I think with some of these players, thank God they play the quarterback position, Kevin, is very, very highly sought after. But know this, though. You won't get a second. Meaning wherever you transfer to, it better work out. Meaning you're either not going to play and be a good teammate, or it's going to work out and you're going to go on to have, football glory. Because you can't continue to get in the transfer portal just to avoid competition. I'm not saying that's what these players are doing. I get any player that wants to go into the transfer portal. Listen, I'm more to support you, but that transfer portal, it's thick.
Yeah,
it's a lot of players. And I know we're talking about the quarterbacks, but something you said. If I could get a guy that's already been in the system that understands, because they just learned new terminology, but they've adjusted to college football, and they're a good teammate, bring them on.
I get guys that transfer, because I know you can say LSU, Southern Cal, Oklahoma, Auburn recently, Florida. There's been head coaching changes, but I mean, Caleb Williams is going to play, right? He's probably Brent Venables comes in. Caleb Williams is probably going to be the starter, right? I mean, it's just very interesting because Keaton Slovis probably going to be the starter at Southern Cal if he stays. I guess I'm saying it's kind of interesting. We see a lot of these guys transferring out. Is that been going to become the new norm where you recruit a guy, you find out if he can play in a year or two, and maybe if he doesn't, you just go get a guy who's played 2 years somewhere else? I mean, is that kind of the new norm of college football that seems to be happening where, I mean, Nebraska lost a kid that started for 3 years. He was going to start again, right? I mean, he's lost 3 years. He decides to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is the new norm where we get to this time next year and 7, 8, 9, 10 P5 quarterbacks who are starting say, I'm out, I'm going somewhere else?
I would think so. Why would it stop? Because this is about resume boosting, man. That's what the transfer portal. I want to go somewhere that can boost my resume. You can blame that on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got in the transfer portal. It worked out, right? Jalen Hurts, he got in the transfer portal. Worked out pretty good for him. So when people saying, well, why would I want to do it? Okay, why do you want to work for certain companies? I can make more money if I exactly. So if I'm talking about boosting now, I will say this: you see, it ain't been no more Jamie Newmans. Nobody has transferred to a school, been named a starter, and didn't play, because that's all you need is one. Listen, all I need is one good example and one bad example, and then I'm good. Jamie Newman will be the bad example. I don't know why. Listen, I don't know why he didn't play for Georgia, but he went undrafted. You don't play around with big-time brands. I'm just telling you that right now. But yes, Kevin, this should be the norm because it's all about the quarterback position. Like, think about this. Georgia, Alabama, they play on Monday. No matter who you talk about, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Brock Bowers, Pickens, Burton, Stetson Bennett. And because that's how big of a role the quarterbacks play. Not just being the faces, but if you got the right guy, and I get it. Stetson Bennett, just like Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm, true freshman, put some guys around him, went to the national championship. Only difference is Stetson Bennett was undefeated. Stetson Bennett had to play Alabama twice, back-to-back seasons. Just won in the regular season his first year. First year there at Georgia. Then obviously this year he had to play him in the SEC championship game. But look at what getting the right guy. Because Kevin, that's what they're really trying to find. I'm like, dude, if we can get the right guy, what can the right guy get us? You thought Cincinnati knew how good Desmond Ridder 4 years later he gonna take him to the college? Nope. But now they're looking for the next one, and that's the crazy part. One of these guys could be that guy because they only gonna look at their good film now. They're not looking at bad film. I'm only looking at the plays you made plays, but that is college football. Because Kevin, we're doing this right now. All right, right now we got Anthony Richardson in Florida. We got some guys coming. If Caleb Williams decide to go to Florida, I'm gonna lose my mind too because it's the potential of what he can do. He might not listen. These guys may never play, but that's what it's about. Because we go from where is he going? Man, they say he might be going. Here going to what? You sure? Because that's what kind of runs college football is. The guy you got under center, you got one of the best quarterbacks. You got a really, really good chance to win. So, hey, right now it's Caleb Williams. Anthony Richardson. Don't take no offense, man. You know I love you down there in Florida, but if we can get Caleb, hey, I'm just saying like that's.
Ben's already on to the next guy.
No, listen, I'm honest about it though. Now I'm not DMing none of these guys. I'm not tweeting them. You're a loser, grown man. I'm talking to you. Leave these young men alone. I'm just saying.
Ben, I think you're a little bit different than like some other dude out there in the middle. You're like if a former All-American is DMing somebody saying, "Hey, what's good, bro?"
No.
I think you would look good in the orange and blue. It's a little bit different than me.
Yeah, but Christian, it's the thing though, Christian. There's a difference in me saying what's up than me saying, really, dude, I knew you wasn't even that good. It's like we talking to him like we're there. No, all these young men that's coming out now were in the womb. Or getting thought about when I was in college. So they calling me sir. They call me Ben. Sir, I'm just saying we are, Kevin, this is the crazy part. You are a lottery pick away in the
I thought he was saying I was a lottery pick.
No,
I was like,
you are a lottery pick.
No, because think about this, Kevin. At the end of the day, if you go to bed saying, man, we need some guys. Hey man, Caleb Williams, he going to so-and-so. He's really going? Because I ain't seen no tweet yet, So it happens, man. We'll see what happens. But shout out to those young men for using the one thing that most people will never have in life, that is leverage. While you got it, you might want to do your best to use it.
Yeah, I saw that when that broke yesterday. I was like, man, these are guys that are playing at their current spots and probably would still be the starter even with a new coach, and they're still transferring out. That's why I think when people say, what can you do about it? There's nothing that you could do about the transfer portal. If guys who are playing in their current position still want to leave, I think as a coach, you just have to keep rolling with it and hope you get a guy that wants to stay the entire 4 years. But I think if you're at a big-time program, as you said, Ben, if there's anything that's slightly changed, we're going to see these guys get a chance to move on and try something else. We got more to come here on 3 and Out. Mark Bradley will join us in about 20 minutes. We'll talk to him. He wrote a column recently, I believe out today, about Stetson Bennett and the defense thereof for Stetson Bennett. He'll join us again in about 20 minutes, but we'll come back. Who are the difference makers going to be on Monday night? We'll get to that here on 3 and Out. Good to have you 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're with us, man. We got Mark Bradley coming up. AJC. What now? Did I say the wrong day again? No. Okay. All right. AJC columnist Mark Bradley will join us. And that's sad that I had to ask that. Did I say the right day? Because there is a wild track record of me not knowing what day
That's
it is.
good stuff. That's good stuff.
No,
though.
we're honestly more impressed when you get the day right.
It's just true.
No, Kevin said on a Tuesday. And Kevin, get you that? Did it? Is it not?
Well, here's the problem. And again, I've said this a number of times, and it's not an excuse. I should know what day it is, but most of my day, like today, a lot of what I do outside of getting ready for the show is preparing for Thursday, Friday. So I spend all day looking at Thursday, Friday. And so I forget that it's Wednesday. And then when I come and do the show, I'm like, we're not there yet. Just in my brain, I've been there all day.
Got it.
Not an excuse.
No,
Not
I like
No.
it. No. The thing about it is, I'm like, look, I'm not even going to correct you. If you say it's Wednesday and it's Tuesday, fine.
I mean, you already pulled a Dan Orlowski and called Stetson Bennett Stetson Benson. So, like,
Justin Benson.
Stetson Benson.
you just trying to make it one word.
Yeah, pretty much. We all have our flaws. I'm just, getting old. You don't care.
You're getting wiser.
But like that's like being a quarterback and saying one of my flaws is
Yeah.
I can't throw.
That's true. But I mean, the only day
Speaking is your job.
it is. The only day I care about though is payday. So
Talk about it.
It's fair.
Every
Is it
other,
pay- is it- is it
every
payday-
other day
is
is
it
fine.
payday yet? No.
No, if you want to talk about something that someone does every week, it's me going, so which day do we get paid on?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So Christian is very much. He's like,
Yeah.
"Are you getting paid tomorrow?"
Thank
But
God.
that's because
What are we doing?
No, thank
no,
God.
don't
Skip.
sell. You don't need to throw every secret out there.
Oh,
no,
thank
I
God.
got you.
No, just thank God for online banking.
much like
I mean,
no, much like a Waffle House order, I don't know that I've ever been paid on the same day twice.
That's fine. Hey, can I call you out unless you ate it and didn't put it in there? But I did notice a tweet the other day of yours. You were like, "Nothing is more awesome than the drop one bacon."
Oh, pull one.
Pull one bacon.
Yeah, pull one
and then
bacon.
you posted a picture of your plate. And unless I was blind,
Yeah,
nary a piece of bacon to be
hadn't-
seen in the picture.
it hadn't gotten there yet.
Okay. I was like,
So
you're going to say something about pull the bacon, and then you're going to post a picture of your food, no bacon.
No,
Oh.
it hadn't gotten. It's like much like the waffle wasn't there yet. They were taking their
Okay.
sweet time.
It was one of those.
But it was
okay.
when I say sweet, I mean that literally. Like
It-
they
so
could
it's-
take all the time they wanted.
So basically what Christian experienced was something a lot of people do. It's the Waffle House version of the 5-course meal. So he's like, hey, here's your hash browns. The bacon comes next,
Yep.
then your waffle, and I guess the bill is dessert. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because the people
It-
because the people that call out the order and the guy that's doing the order, they do not like
You
each
wanna know
other,
how I
and
knew?
they don't even fake it.
You want to know how I knew my food was going to slap? My Waffle House server looked at another guest and said, "I'll go smoke a cigarette with you as soon as I get this young man his raisin toast."
And
No,
then-
no, my favorite. Look, again, this is not what we were going to talk about here, but this is fine. My favorite experiences that I've had is when like the cook is like the guy that's on top of it, and so literally you give your order, and the waitress is like, "All right, pull one bacon." He goes, "No, do it again."
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, nope, do it again. Like, I guess there's a specific way they got to call it out for the
Yes.
short order
Oh, yeah.
cook to get it right. And so I've literally been to Waffle House a few times where I guess the cook's not busy. He hears the order and she'll go to call it. He's like, nope, do it again. Call it out again. So it's like,
No,
the cook is basically like,
I will tell you this right now. Nobody on earth wastes less food than a cook at Waffle House. They don't wait. No, I'm not gonna give. There ain't no extra. Can I get an extra? Because when that's the ones that don't like. Hey man, can I just get a little extra? And they hit you with dude. Listen, what do you want? But it is worth it. Like everybody knows whether Waffle House is full of people or you're the only one in there. You will wait on your order. Now it's gonna be worth the wait
oh, it's good.
because you
See,
can't.
I almost never wait on mine.
I don't
Like,
wait
it's
very often. It's
quick,
good.
like 4 or 5 minutes, and wow. And it's because they have about 5 ingredients in the entire restaurant.
That's right.
And it's just different ways of doing it.
What's the joke? There's a reason they serve breakfast 24 hours a day. Get the breakfast.
Correct.
Oh yeah. People that really be looking at me, you're like, man, you don't get
And
out of here, man.
And again, I know Christian and I grew up in Metro Atlanta where there's like a Waffle House every 16 feet. But
Love it.
literally, I'm trying to think if I've ever had anything but breakfast off of the menu there.
No, you don't need anything else. Because that throws a monkey wrench in what they doing. What? Want to do a chicken sandwich?
You want pork chops?
A
And
chicken-
and they'll look back at you. That's him right there. The guy
you mean an all-star special? Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, there's
I like
certain
to
things.
steak.
But no, but the most beautiful thing is, have you ever I order the same thing every time I go in there. I've never paid the same amount twice.
Yeah, I mix it up. I mix it. I don't.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I've never paid the same amount twice.
it's true.
I will do a for the show every day for 4 weeks. I will go to a Waffle House.
That's because the sales tax
And I
changes
will-
from location
And
to
I will
location.
no, okay, I'll go to the
I'm
same
just
city.
kidding.
I'll go to the same city.
No, I'm just-
And I'll order the same thing 4 times over 4 weeks. And I will take pictures of my total every time.
because you were deciphering the chicken.
And I will bring
from
it
the
back.
waitress.
I will bring it back.
All right.
And it will not be the same once.
Hey, look, you want to listen. And
It's almost like on the little yellow pads, like bacon. That sounds about like $1.87.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Correct.
oh yeah, I will say this. I love Waffle House. As you can tell, we are Waffle House enthusiasts.
Oh my
They know
God.
they listen. The what you're looking at, listen, the menu that you're looking at with the price on it is not what is being rung up on that cashier, and they'll do it right in front of you. I'm like, it's right here.
It's
It
all
says
good.
right here it says 99 cents. They'll hit you with that. No, that was last year. What? The bacon didn't went up? I'm just saying. I love it though, man.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
I don't even know where we're going with this. I was going to talk about
We're gonna
difference
talk-
makers, but I got sidetracked talking about scattered,
Bro,
smothered,
Waffle
and
House
covered.
is
It's
a
fine.
difference
Yeah,
maker.
it
It
is.
That
is.
is a difference maker.
It is a difference maker.
When is it best? When is that its best though?
2 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
It's elite, but
It's
like
good anytime, but yeah.
It is, but early in the morning. I mean, because where I'm from, 20th GA, we got our little Waffle House knockoff. We got Waffle King. We don't got we got Waffle House. but hey, I'm just keeping it a buck. We ain't got it. But
is that like coming to America?
yeah, well, no. This is the thing, right? Like
we got Waffle
they do
House,
that-
we got Waffle King.
at the end of the day, our waffles might be a little crispy. It might be a little crispier. It might not be as soft, but they good though, man. They good. Like hey, you got.
How do you get your hash browns, Ben?
Listen, I get my hash brown. I'm a plain hash brown guy. I don't put
Really?
all the-
Nothing in it?
Yeah. Because I'm loaded up with ketchup. I'm good.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
no,
I'm just
man.
loaded up with ketchup. I'm good.
I think we're on the same accord. I get mine covered and chunked. Ham and cheese.
Well, see, once again,
I like the
whoa,
scattered, which
but
is
think
really
about this.
nothing other
Well, hold
than
on.
it's not
Once
the little
again, but
patty.
you're going to Waffle House. I'm going to Waffle King.
No, but when you go to Waffle House,
When I go to Waffle House, I just still, I guess I'll be looking out for the for the servers or whatever, or the people preparing it. Because every time I go, it be packed. But is there a certain no? You guys have gone to a lot of. Is there a certain Waffle House, a certain area in Metro Atlanta you like to go to? Because they all make them good, but
they're all over
they
the
are
place.
not created equal. As far as some people make it a little better than others.
I think the I think the best one that Christian and I have been to, because we would like to hit it doing some high school football, is we were coming back from a game this year and we walked into a Waffle House. We hadn't been in there 2 minutes, didn't know a soul, and the waitress walks up and goes, "Were you here for the wrestling tonight?" I was like, "Excuse me."
yeah, that was
And I was like,
wonderful.
"Well, am I here for the wrestling?" No, I'm
Yeah.
here for the food actually, but yeah, just you never
Waffle
know.
House wrestling sounds sticky,
All right.
but
That
we
being
but we
said,
have
go
all
ahead.
witnessed some form of Waffle House wrestling.
we have in the
I
parking
think my
lot.
favorite was on the Parts Unknown that Anthony Bourdain did in Charleston. He went to Waffle House, and like while they're filming the scene, you see blue lights flashing in the background in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, Waffle House it goes
Yeah.
down. Meet me at the Waffle House.
Yeah.
It's going down for the food. And it's going down the parking
Oh.
lot.
Very true. We'll come back. After all that, we're going to talk to Mark
That
Bradley.
makes sense for the AJC.
Yeah,
I mean,
AJC,
Yep.
sports columnist.
Ask him
He'll join
about
us.
Waffle House.
We'll ask you about Waffle House and Stetson Bennett when we come back. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Yeah, we're almost there. We are getting closer, day by day, minute by minute, to the national championship game coming up on Monday night. Georgia and Alabama. That rematch for it all coming up in Indianapolis. Joining us here from the AJC Sports columnist Mark Bradley, joining us here on 3 and Out. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Appreciate you coming on. Your most recent column talking about Stetson Bennett. He need not defend himself, so you'll do it for him. Why do you think Stetson Bennett hasn't been, and I won't say it's everybody, but why do you think he hasn't been fully embraced by the Georgia fan base, despite the fact that they're in the national championship?
I don't think it's just Stetson Bennett. I think this happened also to Jake Fromm to a certain extent, his last season at Georgia. And I remember back when Joe Tarasinski III was named the starting quarterback in preseason, and I thought, Georgia fans are going to be excited about that. They've got a third generation Bulldog going to start the 2006 season at quarterback. But no, they wanted Matthew Stafford. They couldn't wait for Stafford to get in there. And when I say they, let me just also confess that I don't know how many of them there are. It could be a tiny minority that just is really loud. There wasn't as much in the way of social media back then, but you still heard it, and now you hear it to the point where you're sick of hearing it, because it's like, we'll never win with Bennett at quarterback. Well, they beat Michigan with Stetson Bennett. Michigan's pretty good. They went 12. They finished up a 12-0 season with him. He was good enough to do that. And I think it's something peculiar to Georgia, as opposed to this being something that happens everywhere else. And I kind of wrote what I wrote today because I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out just why that is.
Mark, if Stetson Bennett was 6'4", right? If he was 6'4", because he got a big arm. But if he was 6'4" and he never left campus, would people be still saying the same thing about Stetson? Because you mentioned Jake Fromm. I think one of the best decisions Kirby Smart ever made is calling Stetson Bennett. Am I wrong?
No, I think Bennett's a good quarterback. I mean, bad quarterbacks generally do not take teams to the national championship game. I think that to believe that Kirby Smart would do something that hurts his team is, that's kind of ludicrous. I mean, he gets $1 million bonus if they win the national championship. He has a very vested interest in winning the national championship. And I don't get, the people who say, well, he knows JT Daniels is better, but he likes Bennett, or he liked Fromm and he didn't like Justin Fields. I don't understand that thinking. I understand that quarterback debates, quarterback controversies, they're all kind of they're all very heated things within a fan base. But at the same time, I think, I don't know that any fan base disagrees with its head coach about its number one quarterback the way Georgia does.
Mark Bradley, AJC, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Mark, what do you think Stetson Bennett, Kirby Smart learned about themselves from the last time they played Alabama to make sure that result is different here the second time around?
I think, I think the last game, Georgia led 10-0. We forget that. Georgia got off to a very good start, and Bennett had a tremendous first quarter in that game. Now he threw two interceptions, yes, but the Georgia defense collapsed in that game, and that started with the cover no one coverage on the Alabama receiver that that got Alabama back in the game very quickly. That cut it to 10-7, and from then on, it was like Georgia was running in cement. They were not playing their kind of defense, and Alabama was just slinging it and catching it in a way that nobody had done to Georgia. I don't think Alabama is going to do that again. I don't think I don't think Georgia is going to go without a sack of Bryce Young in this game. And if we look, there haven't been a whole lot of rematches in college football over the years. But if we look at the few that there have been, they tend to favor the team that lost the first game.
Mark, when excluding Buck Belue, because he finished the job in 1980. You think about David Green, DJ Shockley, Matthew Stafford, Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett can find a way to be, the last team standing on Monday. Where do you rank him, in those pantheon of quarterbacks that's come through Georgia?
Well, I don't know that he's ever going to be a bigger talent than Matthew Stafford. I mean, Matthew Stafford was number one pick in the draft, but as far as winning as a quarterback, I mean, there's only one. There's only one quarterback in this era that has won a national championship for Georgia, and that's Buck Belue. Fromm came the closest to anybody after that, but they didn't win the game. They lost in overtime in January of 2018. There was a saying that it has been popular in baseball for a long time, but it's one that Alex Anthopoulos has sort of mentioned several times since the Braves won the World Series, and that's flags fly forever. I mean, if Georgia wins the game with Stetson Bennett as quarterback, Stetson Bennett is a Georgia legend. I mean, just there's no ifs, there's no other way around that. I mean, he's the guy.
Mark, obviously you've covered the state of Georgia sports for a long time. How big has the 1980 albatross gotten with Georgia, and how obviously they're eager to get it off of there, but has that become such the talking point that it kind of drowns everything out when you're talking about getting over this final hump?
I do think that there's something to be said that every fan base worries and has questions about something or other, but I think that, if we remember the great Larry Munson was a great announcer, but he was also really great at worrying about everything. Going into the game, Vince Dooley used to try to stay away from him before the game because he'd get Munson would get Dooley so depressed because he'd think his team didn't have a chance. And I think Georgia people have kind of taken a lead from Munson. And I think the fact that they haven't won a national championship since January 1st, 1981 is something that has led them to be maybe a little more fatalistic than a lot of other colleges, because they have come pretty close. I mean, they keep running into Alabama, and Alabama keeps falling behind by double digits and then wins the game.
Mark, I mean, I remember when the Cubs finally got over the hump and won that World Series. I remember when LeBron, won the World Championship for Cleveland. Georgia wins this thing on Monday. What I know what it's gonna mean for Georgia fans. What about the state of Georgia? Because it is red and black through and through. What is it gonna mean to the state of Georgia to finally say, one, the Braves finally got back to the World Series run, but Georgia winning that's got to be totally different.
Chris Russo, the Mad Dog. I was on with him on Sirius XM. Sorry to drop name. I was on with him during the World Series, and I think the last thing he asked me was, which would be bigger, Georgia winning the national championship or the Braves winning the World Series? And I said, that's a close call. But I think, in Atlanta, I think the Braves winning the World Series would have been slightly bigger. But there's a lot of Georgia that isn't Atlanta. And I think in those parts of the state, I think Georgia winning would be bigger. But they'd both be great. I mean, because then you don't have to, we don't have to answer the question, how much longer is it going to be? They've answered that. I mean, this was maybe like the, 10th best Braves team of the last 30 years. And yet it's a World Series champion. I mean, that's, flags fly forever.
Mark Bradley, AJC.com sports columnist, joining us here. Let's flip the coin to the other side, Mark. You kind of answered a little bit, but what if they don't? I know a lot of folks have said to us preseason, hey, if you're going to beat Alabama, this might be the year to do it because they're young. They've got a lot of obviously top recruited talent, but it's young. It hasn't played. This might be the year to do it. They got some big transfers coming in. If Georgia doesn't do it, where does that put Kirby Smart? Is it still knocking at the doorstep? Is it a deflating moment? Where do you kind of see it going if they don't get it done on Monday night?
I don't think, I know that people say that Alabama is will keep on rolling. Nick Saban's 70. We don't know how much longer he's going to coach. Kirby Smart, I believe, is 46. He's got a few years left. And I think that this makes twice he's gotten them to the national championship game. They've been in the SEC championship game, 4 out of the last 5 years. I mean, they're set up pretty good. And the East, now we don't know what's going to happen when Texas and Oklahoma come in, but do we really see anybody in the East gaining on them right now? I mean, Florida just fired a coach. South Carolina has had a new coach this year. I mean, maybe Tennessee has the resources to give Georgia a challenge in the East, but I think Georgia's set up pretty well too. And I think their recruiting is as good as Alabama's. It's not. It's one of those things that I don't think there's anything about Georgia right now that would make you think that they're going to fall off the cliff if they lose this game. I think they'll be back again. They have good players. They always have good players. They have it going now, and if the minute Nick Saban retires, Alabama, we're going to be asking, can anybody follow Saban? And the answer is probably going to be no, because he's the greatest of all time. You don't follow that guy. But I think Georgia's sitting in an awfully good position right now, and I think Texas A&M is in a pretty good position in the SEC too.
And Mark, with so many storylines with going into this game, obviously you wrote about Stetson Bennett. If Stetson Bennett does, he is a national champion come Monday night. There's a lot of great stories in college football, and but where does his story rank when you talk about his path to Georgia and him obviously doing what nobody thought he could do?
I think it's one of the best stories I've ever been around, and I've this is I've been around a little while, so I think this is a great story. I mean, it's a great story even if they lose, but I mean, here's a walk-on. He left to go to junior college. He came back. He lost he had the starting job last year, then he lost it, then he got it back, and now he's in the national championship game. I mean, that's a heck of a story. That to me, that's better than you expected Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and guys like that to take their team to the championship game, and they did. But for Stetson Bennett to do it, I mean, to me, that's just remarkable, and I think it's a great story.
Mark Bradley, AJC.com, sports columnist, our guest here on 3 and Out. Mark, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Mark Bradley, our guest here on 3 and Out, and George with an opportunity, as he said, to finish it up on Monday night and write a number of legacies in the process. We've got more to come. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Are there? Good to be back here on 3 and Out. Sean Pender, head football coach at Brunswick High School, is going to join us top of next hour. He coached Stetson Bennett there at Pierce County High School, and Warren McClendon at Brunswick High School, his current stop. Both gentlemen will be playing for the national championship there on Monday night, so he'll join us top of next hour. Also, David Waters, Gators Breakdown, will join us. We'll get the latest around Billy Napier and also just the coaching trends. Florida's done some things that a number of other schools have with in terms of hiring analysts and also hiring a position recently as a director of college personnel whose job then is to only look at the transfer portal and JUCO transfers, kind of the age of college football that we're in. So we'll get to that coming up. But something I want to ask you that we asked Mark Bradley, how badly does Georgia need that W on Monday night? Because I asked him, what if they lose? I mean, what if they win? What if they lose? How to play is, but if they win, obviously you exercise a lot of demons. But it seems like, as he said, the talking points are 1980, 1980, 1980. Can we get over the hump? Can we beat Alabama? Can you crest that mountain? How badly do they need that W on Monday night?
In the worst way, not just for 1980. I think sometimes we forget, man, there's so many guys, because you carry on the legacies of those teams, whether you had something to do with it or not. If you went to Georgia, you got to hear about 1980. I mean, I wasn't even born in 1980. And the thing about it is, I think what happens, Kevin, is I think about the guys that I played with, and they want to be able to say, look, man, we're good enough to do it. Sports is one of those things where we can talk about how good we are, how great we are, but you got to what evidence do you have to say you're good enough to do it when we've done it? And I think when you think about this Georgia team, no one ever saw it. Like, it's always improbable, right? And they ain't got the 5-star quarterback, you ain't got but you can still find a way to go out there and get doing it with a freshman tight end, doing it with a guy that was a walk-on. All these storylines help add to it. But I think Georgia needs it in the worst way. And if you are Georgia, you are college football, you want to try to be able to say Nick Saban has to have a reason to get the hell out. If he keeps on winning, that's only going to add to him staying even longer, right? Lost to one assistant. Never seen that happen till this year. If it happens twice in the same year, even though, well, it won't happen twice in the same year for like calendar year, whatever. I think, Kevin, I think Georgia's doing it for more than just Georgia. But yes, Georgia needs it in the worst way, man, because this notion of keep banging it door, keep banging it door, ask Donovan McNabb what it's like. 5 straight NFC championships. That don't mean, but when you finally get the Super Bowl, you get Tom Brady. So you got to find a way to get over
Jim
the hump.
Kelly and the Buffalo Bills.
That's what I'm saying. So this notion that we're going to get back there. Look, man, you lose energy. You lose enthusiasm. So, yes, Georgia needs it in the worst way. And I know a bunch of guys that played at Georgia, man, that just – it's not to say, the thorn in the face of everybody that was talking trash and say, look, man, you won the elite programs, had a chance to get it done. Most teams will never, ever be in this position. Got to find a way to finish the job.
And again, we'll see if they get it done there on Monday night in the national championship game. And that would be a huge win for the program. Obviously, the SEC is continuing right on either way. They
come out. Scott Strickland said, man, bring them checks.
Greg Sankey's just like, hey, we're fine.
Greg Sankey,
we're fine. Greg Sankey's like, expand the playoffs, don't expand the playoffs. Who cares? We're fine. We're making all the bank here. On this,
and did it twice with Georgia and Alabama. Second time, getting 2 checks.
Absolutely. So, just the checks continue to cash, and they say Southeastern Conference on the title line there over and over again. So we'll see more of that there on Monday night. I think Georgia needs this one, Ben. Again, I don't think it's deflating, but again, you've seen a lot of people say, if not this year, when. And I know Mark Bradley made the case of, well, Nick Saban's not going to be there forever. But, Nick Saban's recruiting isn't exactly slowing down either. He's right there, lockstep and step, and you've got a number of guys coming in for Alabama that people are really excited about as well. So this was considered to be a year in which Alabama was vulnerable because they lost so much to the NFL, had some young guys. Even now, offensive line a little banged up, secondary's banged up. Might this be the year to do it against Alabama? I think it's big if Georgia can go ahead and get it done. Christian's already saying it's not happening next year.
I will say this. When you at the end of the day, Kevin, this Georgia team understands you might want to get Alabama when you got to take. No one's looking forward to Alabama ever. Definitely not on next year. You better do it on Monday.
One game for it all. Christian's fired up. We'll come back. Sean Pender, Brunswick High head football coach, will join us. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, will join us next hour as well here on 3 and Out. It's Georgia and Alabama Monday night in Indianapolis for the national championship. And a couple of young men, Warren McClendon and Stetson Bennett, a chance to play for the national championship there for Georgia. Both of those young men coached by our next guest in their respective high school careers. Sean Pender, the head football coach of the Brunswick High Pirates, joining us here on 3 and Out. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Hey, man, we are doing fantastic. Good to talk to you. Stetson obviously has been talked about, written about a lot here this season. You had the opportunity, obviously, to coach that young man there at Pierce County. How do you think he's handled kind of this journey he's been on? Had opportunities to play elsewhere out of high school, wanted to go play at Georgia, walked on, went to JUCO, came back, and through it all now has a chance to win a national championship as the starting quarterback at Georgia.
I think the young man has handled this better than anybody I've ever known. He's always had a awesome demeanor about himself. He's always had a quiet confidence in his abilities, and he's also always been real confident in the people he surrounds himself with. And the type of character, young man that this guy has been all through his high school career, it carried over into his career at Georgia. And I'm not surprised at all to see him once the opportunity was given to him. I'm not surprised at all that he was able to maintain and hold the job.
Coach, another young man you was blessed enough to coach here recently, Warren McClendon. I mean, bigger than the fact that he's trying to carry on that offensive line, specifically that offensive tackle tradition. The McClendon family. The McKinley family name at the University of Georgia. That's some big shoes to fill. But I mean, the stage obviously isn't too big for him, even with him being as young as he is.
Oh, without a doubt. When I think of Warren McClendon, the very first word that I think about is professionalism. He has been that way from the beginning. You talk about a great family, but from the very beginning, when I first met Warren, and I first met his mom, I actually met his mom before I met his father, and he's got a outstanding set of parents and a great uncle by that also. But when I first met him, I met him and his mom, and how attentive they were and how much attention that they paid to detail, not just in athletics, but in the school building, in life, his mannerisms, the way he carries himself, the way he communicates with others. I mean, when someone walks in the room and you say that person has the it factor, that kid, Warren McClendon, has the it factor, and a lot of that has to do with the way he was raised.
Sean Pender joining us here. Obviously, you had two young men who had success in high school. You won a whole lot of games with Stetson Bennett as your quarterback there at Pierce County. And Coach, how do you kind of evaluate Stetson's a good case for the recruiting process? Because skill set wise, I mean, he's right up there with everybody. And the only kind of knock you put on him is, hey, maybe he's not as tall as we'd want. Well, you can't do anything about that as a coach. And I know you were a great wide receiver, maybe not the prototypical wide receiver size, still set records. Do you see guys like that and say, look, it's not all about what you can put on the scale and the height chart. Look at the way a kid can play.
Absolutely. The intangibles are just something you just can't measure. There's no way to open up the man's chest and see the size of his heart. And that's what you got with Stetson Bennett. Stetson's always been that type of player. He's been an overachiever type individual his entire life, and he's carried that with him. That's just a poise. That's just who he is. And you can't measure that. And also his determination and love for Georgia football. This young man has loved the Bulldogs forever. He was bred to be in the position he's in. And that's something else a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of people out there that are very good athletes and very good recruits, and they go to the best offer that they can get to. They don't actually have that love, that deep love for the school that Stetson have. And I think when you have that type of passion for something, you tend to sell out for it. And I think that's also played a part in the productivity that Stetson's been allowed to have. And then, of course, he is surrounded by a lot of very, very talented players that believe in him. And when that happens, that really soars your confidence.
Coach, take us back, because you mentioned something that, again, in today's day and age is not that common. Take us back to that recruiting process. You're as head coach there at Pierce County, and obviously you have guidance with all of your players where they want to say, and you say, hey, you have offers to go play at Southern Miss, some other places. Georgia, obviously there's no scholarship there. That's a walk-on situation. How do you kind of, when you have players that are going through that, how do you kind of merit that out versus, hey, there's opportunities maybe to go play. You kind of know the trek of what it could mean to be a walk-on in terms of playing. Take us back to like some of those conversations you had with Stetson when he was weighing, do I go play over here or do I go to a place I really, really want to be at, even though it may not be as a full scholarship guy off the bat?
Well, yeah, he started that he wanted to play college football. I mean, of course, he was going to play somewhere else besides Georgia, but Georgia's really where he wanted to play. And when that wasn't on the table, we were looking at other places, but he was getting mostly FCS offers, and he got Middle Tennessee was his first actual big offer that was going to offer him a full scholarship. Southern Miss was playing with him here and there. Really wasn't 100% on pulling the trigger, even though they might say it that they are now. Everyone's saying they would now probably, but at that time it was just not really sure. Again, the only FBS school he had was Middle Tennessee at the time, and he went on a visit there. And he also looked at Samford really hard. He looked at Mercer really hard and trying to debate where he wanted to go. But when you go back to the summertime and he's going to all these different, where he got that nickname, the mailman, when he's wearing the mailman hat and going to all these different quarterback camps, he was sizing himself up against some of the top recruited quarterbacks in the nation. Jake Fromm was at a lot of those same camps that he was. And besides Jake Fromm's just, size factor, Stetson Bennett was throwing the ball just as good as him and all that. And he just felt that he was just as good as a quarterback, and he had the confidence in himself. And I remember going with some of those camps, like actually being there and watching the way the wide receivers would try to line up just to have a chance to go with Stetson because of the way Stetson threw the football and to get themselves seen. And he has that effect on people though, where people will navigate to him. But in that process, he had a lot of offers. He just wasn't satisfied with his offers. And then Georgia called him and offered him that preferred walk-on and said he'd be treated just like a scholarship athlete and this type of stuff. But, if your dream is to play here at the University of Georgia, why not go for it? So that was his mentality. He went there and he got on the practice squad, and as a scout team guy, and earned himself an opportunity to dress, and he got to run through the hedges. But when it looked like he wasn't going to get an opportunity to play, especially when Georgia brought in Justin Fields, and you had Jake Fromm and Justin Fields in front of him, that's when he decided to go the JUCO route. So he went the JUCO route, and then Georgia decided they really, really missed him, especially after Justin Fields left, and they decided to bring him back and offer him a scholarship.
Coach, what does a guy like Stetson Bennett do for the perception of the quarterback position? And as you mentioned, I mean, you can never, ever open up a young man's heart and see the size of his heart. But what does, outside of him just being in this position and betting on himself, coming back to the University of Georgia, growing up a Georgia Bulldog, getting to live out his dream, what does he do for the perception of the position to say, look, man, do you want me to play the quarterback position, or do I got to look the part before you actually get the part?
Unfortunately, in this business, man, there's so many people that were going to look at the measurables before they look at anything else. Do they fit in a certain mold? If they fit in this mold, all right, then we'll start looking at his intangibles. But with a guy like Stetson Bennett, what he brings, not just him, you look at, Drew Brees has done it. You look at Russell Wilson, what he has done, and some of the stuff, just, he's just one of those guys that overcoming the that stigma that you have to be 6'4" and have a cannon for an arm, to be a quarterback. Stetson Bennett's a ball player, plain and simple. And he's 5'11", he's just under 6 foot. He has big hands though. That's another thing people don't understand. He's got hands of someone who's 6'3", and the kid is a gamer. He's been groomed to play quarterback his entire life, and he has that instinct about him. And what Stetson does is it also shows everybody out there that, hey, whether you're a walk-on or a 5-star athlete, if you're good enough, you're going to have a chance to what do they say? The cream always rises to the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coach Sean Pinder joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach, you mentioned Warren McClendon earlier. You coached him at Brunswick High, and a guy that has that pedigree in his family of being a college athlete. But you watched the Orange Bowl, and as a coach, I imagine has to be give you great pleasure when you see a guy just absolutely toss around some guys there that are expected to be high NFL draft picks in the Orange Bowl.
Well, I think Warren McClendon is going to be a nice draft pick himself when he gets there. You talk about a kid that is technically sound in every aspect, does everything correct. You watch him. There's not a phase in his game where he's weak at, and maybe he himself is just a little bit undersized compared to some of those other guys. I think Warren's only around 6'4", maybe 6'5" if you put some heels on him or something. But he's around that deal, and he's another kid that's going to end up being a top draft pick in my opinion. I think he'll be one of the highest rated offensive linemen that get to go, and probably I think he'll be at Georgia at least one more year, and then after that I think he'll go to the NFL. But if you watch his game tape, he's done that to everybody he's ever faced. Now he's going to have some big shoes to fill. It was a high opportunity with Michigan. Obviously, he had a lot of hard situations there, but Alabama, they're not going to be a joke either. They're going to come with some dudes just as good as Michigan, if not better.
And Coach, I mean, come Monday night, if Stetson, Warren, the Georgia Bulldogs can find a way to get over this hump, this 40-year-old hump, I mean, that they had nothing to do with, but obviously you carry on the good and the bad of any school. What is it going to mean to you, a guy who understands who these young men are as people first and as football players second?
I am already as proud as I'm going to be of them. I'm so excited to see these guys prosper. I'm so blessed to have been in their lives. With the things that not just what coaches bring to players, but what players bring to coaches. And these are two players that we're talking about that really are a blessing to be able to coach and to be around. You're talking about high character young men. Both these young men are going to be great fathers to their kids. They're going to be great husbands to their wives. They're going to be great in the community that they decide to reside in, and they're just those type of people. They're infectious people, and I'm so blessed already to be with them. Whether they win or lose, Friday night they're already champions in my mind, in my eyes, and all Monday night's going to do is solidify that in a whole bunch of other people's eyes. And well, we're going to see a movie about this before it's all said and done.
I certainly think it could be a possibility. Sean Pender, our guest here on 3 and Out. Coach, always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks for having me on. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good day.
Will do. Sean Pender, head football coach at Brunswick High School. Coach Warren McClendon there at Brunswick High. Also, Stetson Bennett there at Pierce County. Knows those two young men very well as they play for a national championship on Monday night. We've got more to come. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joins us next here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. Certainly a lot going on around college football with the national championship game, coaching hires, transfers, a lot happening around the game. Here to help us break it down. Florida's been very busy. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us here on 3 and Out. David, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you. Before we get started with the Florida stuff, David, I have to ask, full disclosure, are you conflicted at all on Monday night? Because obviously you cover the Florida Gators. You have Georgia and Alabama in the national championship game. But correct me if I'm wrong, you and Stetson Bennett hail from the same hometown. So you're pulling for the hometown guy, which means you might have to say, go Dogs, dare I say, or are you conflicted on Monday night?
You will never hear me.
There you go, David.
So, yeah, it is a good story, though, for Blackshear and Stetson Bennett, to get all the notoriety. I mean, news stations are in Blackshear, covering that angle of it. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to see Blackshear in the spotlight a bit, too. But there's too much orange and blue in the event for me to go that far with it. But, that's about the extent of it. I'll go as far. I'll show some support, for Blackshear and the hometown guy. But ultimately, I don't want to see Georgia hoist that trophy Monday night.
There you go, Dave. I know Coach Bill Napier. Someone listen to 3 and Out say, Dave, you better say the right thing. But Dave, when you think about Coach Napier and what he's doing, right? I mean, he's seeing what Georgia's doing. He's seeing what Alabama's doing, what Clemson's doing. As far as like coaches, I think he's hired like 30 now. He only get to sign 25 guys between early signing day and obviously national signing day. But is that the winning recipe? You got to have an analyst for every single position, but bigger than the guys that's going to be coaching the players, you got to have analysts, you got to have transfer portal guys, you got to have national NIL guys. What do you make of Coach Napier trying to reshape how things are done behind the scenes before you even get on the field?
Yeah, Ben, that's part of it. I mean, what have we heard about Nick Saban? What have we heard about Kirby Smart? It's getting that number of analysts, getting that number of coaches. And now, honestly, like you said, it's covering every angle of the ever-changing game of college football. And as you said, it's all recruiting innovation. I mean, that's a title for Florida right now. As you said, player engagement, NIL, player development, transfer portal, JUCO guys. I mean, it's all coming to a head, and you need somebody for all those roles. But then one thing he says about this, why he wants to bring so many people in is, look, it is a tough life to live as a college football coach. So when you have all these guys, these on-field coaches that are going to be, a lot of your main recruiters, and they're going to be on the field a lot too, if you hire an army around them, it takes some of the pressure off of them as well. So they're not the ones that are ultimately in the guys, in recruits' ears day in and day out. You have assistants for that as well that can help fill in. So there is a quality of life aspect to this as well. And maybe that went too much for the previous staff and the way Dan Mullen wanted to do things. But now with the way Florida is kind of coming in and saying, hey, we're dedicated to this. Hey, here's $7.5 million to throw at all these assistant coaches. And here's more for all these assistants that are going to be under him, helping these guys. So they're getting creative in a lot of titles to bring some of these people in, but it's really about kind of just creating an army that every nook and cranny is covered. So you can go compete with Georgia, so you can go compete with Alabama.
Yeah, David, that was kind of what I was noticing there with Florida is this kind of the next wave of college football is we see the head coaches getting these huge contracts and salaries, and you saw the Dabos of the world go out and say, look, I'll defer a pay raise, but I want to keep my two guys, offensive and defensive coordinators, happy. I'm going to give them darn near as much money as I'm getting to stay and build that continuity. But you mentioned, I saw that Billy Napier hired Bird Sherrill. He's a guy, obviously not a lot of folks probably know who that is, but he's an NFL scout, a former NFL scout who's director of college personnel. And basically his entire job is to look at the transfer portal in JUCO. Like that's all he does is sit there and look at the transfer portal for guys that Florida could be in. Is that kind of the next wave, given what we've seen in transfer portals? Like now every college is going to have recruiting coordinators and transfer portal coordinators to kind of figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, I mean, as we're seeing, and probably an effect of this crazy coaching carousel we just went through, there's a lot of guys, and there's a lot of high-profile guys in the transfer portal right now. So you're going to need somebody dedicated to it because, I mean, you're seeing it. They can come in and help your team. While I still think you will build the base of your football team. If you want to go compete for a college football playoff spot, if you want to go win the SEC, you really need to go hit your high school recruiting. But we're seeing it day in and day out right now. These transfer portals also for these big programs. Now they're not banking on it, they're not relying on it so much, but they're getting those, you got 1, 2, 3 guys on their team that can make a difference, that can make instant impacts on their team. And we saw Alabama, their receiving core, Jameson Williamson there at wide receiver. They needed him. They needed him this year. He's made a difference for their team. He's one of the reasons they are playing Monday night in the national championship game. So even as good as you recruit as Alabama does, you still need that one transfer linchpin there for their team. So yeah, you need an army to go hit high school recruiting, but then dial it back a little bit also for the transfer portal, because it's crazy up there right now.
One thing that Coach Napier is doing also, he's bringing back guys that played at Florida. Retained Vernell Brown, obviously, for the player personnel guy. Everybody was thinking who was gonna replace Christian Robinson. Did you go out and get Mike Peterson, a guy that obviously played at Florida? Just talk about him understanding that. Look, you got to have former players to be able to resonate with the current players, both coaching the X and O's and guys like Vernell Brown, who obviously is in charge of player engagement.
Yeah, Ben, and too, there was a kind of a push behind the scenes too. Kejuan Ratliff, who was a part of Dan Mullen's staff, behind the scenes as far as recruiting goes, was wondering if he'd be able to find a way to stay on staff. But it does not look that way. As you said, Mike Peterson, former Gator linebacker, played in the NFL for a while too, the Jaguars and the Falcons. Now was at South Carolina, and the word is it's not been made official by Florida, but pretty well known out there right now that Mike Peterson is going to be the next outside linebacker coach for Florida. As you said, former player, All-American. And it is good to see former players come back. You go from Christian Robinson, who was a dog. He was a Georgia dog. Was a killer on the recruiting trail for Florida. He was probably looked at as maybe one guy they may keep around from the previous staff. But they decided to completely, or as far as on-field coaches go, not retain anybody from Dan Mullen's staff. And now, outside linebacker, bring in Mike Peterson from South Carolina. You look at it, South Carolina, a defense that has been able to create turnovers, for all their faults. In a pretty good first year there under Shane Beamer, but for all their overall faults, they've still been able to create a lot of turnovers on defense in recent years. So I think Mike Peterson, it is good to see a former Gator back on staff here under Billy Napier.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us here on 3 and Out. And David, obviously, Billy Napier's come in with a lot of fanfare, scared money don't make money, and all those kind of things, and bringing in a lot of infrastructure improvements as far as coaching staff and things of that nature. How quickly does he need to have it resonate on the field? Obviously, you have 2 teams in your conference playing for the national championship. I don't think anybody fully knows what the SEC is going to look like when Oklahoma and Texas comes in. So how quickly does he need to have Florida in that position so they can compete, and also with 2 more high-profile teams coming in, continue to compete in that new look SEC?
Yeah, I mean, that's one reason he's hired. Dan Mullen, and for one reason he's no longer around is you couldn't really point to anything in the future to bank on. Recruiting was looking good, and you decided ever since the late 2020 that for whatever reason you couldn't win ball games. It just comes down simply to it. So sustainability, and that's what it's going to be. For his first year, Billy Napier, it's going to be pretty tough. You open up with Utah. Kentucky is your second game. You have Tennessee in the first month of the season. You do have, I think, 6 of your first 7 games in the state of Florida, so that helps a bit too. So a lot of home games as well, and the game in Jacksonville versus Georgia. But then you got Georgia and Texas A&M back to back, so it's very difficult first season for Billy Napier. Probably could turn a lot of heads if he has a lot of success in 2022. But you want to see a Florida team that plays a lot cleaner. It doesn't look as lost. Look like they care. Change a little bit of the culture first. I think as long as Florida fans see that, a lot of effort going out there and playing. Look, can't be the case for long, but as far as rebounding, but this is also a team that was in Atlanta last year. That's won double-digit games in 2018 and 2019. So they're not that far off. This was a down year. This was a bad year. But I don't think a quick rebound is necessarily out of the question either. There's enough talent on this roster to have a quick rebound. Maybe not compete for the East next year, but for a quick rebound and look much better than they did in 2021. But I think Gator Nation, in that year too, that bump class, his second recruiting class, has to be at that elite level, and you have to start seeing in year 2 some of those dividends also paying off on the field.
Dan Mullen, obviously out in Florida, when you think about the fact, really, really good, but then it kind of lost his way because kind of lost the locker room. Was more of a guy who was known for winning, not really, a very personal type guy. I don't know if he was like that with the players, but definitely wasn't that with the media. What type of guy do you think Napier is going to be? Obviously, he knows about who he's coming in filling the shoes for, but if your short time being able to kind of, interview him, talk to him, what type of guy does he seem to be?
Man, he's gonna be straight to the point. This is not gonna be a holding hands and kissing babies type of head coach. I don't think. I was told, about some people who know him, that he's not going to be doing those big booster tours where he's the guy, week in and week out to be doing this type of thing. He'll do your big cities. He'll do Tampa and Jacksonville and Orlando and Miami maybe, but he's not going to. He's a football junkie. He wants to be a football coach. As long as he's winning ball games, Florida fans will completely accept that there. But I think just kind of straight to the point, down to earth. Is going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. Not really sugarcoat anything. That's kind of the gist I've been getting of him. Look, he's raised in South Georgia. I'm raised in South Georgia, kind of maybe the same backgrounds, maybe a laid back attitude somewhat. And I think it will be not maybe as quirky of an approach as what we saw under Dan Mullen.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joins us. David, before we let you go, your thoughts on Monday night, Bama or Georgia? How do you think this thing plays out?
Until I see Kirby Smart beat Nick Saban, I can't go against it. The rematch, I think, definitely factors into it. Can you beat the same team twice? Can you beat a really good team twice? I think that's the biggest question here. And as far as to go along with the question, can Kirby Smart finally beat Nick Saban? But until I see it, I know that's probably the easy way out here. But also, from what we saw on the field just a month ago as well, I still lean Alabama. I still lean Nick Saban in that environment with all that experience, being able to hoist one more national championship on Monday night.
It'd be truly unbelievable. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us here on 3 and Out. David, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, unbelievable from a standpoint of Nick Saban getting yet another one. I mean, the guy probably doesn't have enough shelf space for all of his trophies he's won over the course of his coaching career. Appreciate David joining us. We'll come back. We'll take 3 next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you along here on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett is not here. Ben Troop is here. Christian Gokel is here. I know I had to,
Why you
had to
gotta
do
do
that.
BJ like that?
That being said, had a busy hour too. Sean Pender joined us. David Waters joined us. Let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. We'll move right along. So Christian's going to slide in to take 3 with us, Ben. But take 1, the Jags are interviewing coaching candidates this week. The fans are interviewing clowns. Who would you?
The fans are going to be.
They're going to
clowns,
be clowns.
but like in a good way.
Is there a good way to be?
Yeah.
They're going to have the Shad
When
Khan.
you're being
method.
ironic,
They're
yeah.
calling it the clown out with a K.
Yeah, when you're being
Like the
when you're being ironic,
Rashad Khan.
it's fine.
Who would you hire though if you're the Jags, Ben?
To me, I think that he's you go to Jim Caldwell. You need guys established in the National Football League coming up. A bunch of guys, a bunch of early 20-some-year-olds figure out what it takes to win, consistently. How do I know Jim Caldwell is a good coach? It's not because he went to the Super Bowl with a veteran-led team with Peyton Manning, those guys that lost to the New Orleans Saints. It's because he took the Detroit Lions to the play. They were 11-5. I just think that at the end of the day, when you can win in Detroit, you can win anywhere. When you can take an organization that I know has been in a bottom feeder for a very, very long time. Jim Caldwell understands what it takes to win with veterans. He understands what it takes to win with young guys. You take a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who definitely is proven a front runner, who definitely seems to be a guy that loves playing football and has galvanized his teammates in their locker room. Go out there and get Jim Caldwell, get you some good coordinators in there. But I think Jim Caldwell should be the first called by Shad Khan, who needs some good publicity at this point.
Yeah, I know the guys that they have requested for the most part have been coordinators that haven't been head coaches before.
Yeah.
Right, which we're getting old because Kellen Moore is one of those. I still remember him cooking Georgia in the Georgia Dome to open the season in the Power Ranger uniforms. But that being said, I think 2 guys. I think Byron Leftwich is one guy you absolutely have to consider. Tom Brady has been out there pounding the table for him, saying he's an amazing coordinator. And when Tom Brady puts his rubber stamp on it, I'll take that one. And you're just trying to develop around what's supposed to be your franchise of Trevor Lawrence. I'll take Tom Brady's stamp of approval on it. The other guy, though, and they haven't requested to interview him yet, Eric Bieniemy.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is about him. Maybe he's just telling people he's comfortable in Kansas City.
Maybe he's not a yes person.
Yeah, he likes having Patrick Mahomes as his guy. Maybe he knows it's kind of like a Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick thing, where if Andy Reid ever retires, he just takes over and he knows he has the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know. Whatever he wants to do, but I think you have to do your due diligence on that one.
Yeah.
I think either Eric Bieniemy or Byron Leftwich, if you want to go the unproven route, versus I know the NFL very much likes to go the retread route when it comes to head coaches. I think it's going to be an interesting decision for Shad Khan. Does he go the safe route with the next guy, with the guy who's been a head coach before, or do you go with someone who has the higher ceiling? I'd go with Bieniemy, or if you can't get him, Byron Leftwich. But one guy I think to watch out for too, because they're saying there's a lot of interest. I don't know if he's just trying to get a bigger contract. Harbaugh.
Oh, I'm about to say Harbaugh, Michigan. Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh apparently has an interest in getting back in the NFL. Well, he doesn't like the fact that they cut his money and his power and forced him to make coaching changes before this year.
Yeah.
And so now he's got a little bit of stature. Now you take him to the college football play. Can he get that money back?
Yeah. If you're the Jags, you need a coach who can beat his rivals. So that being said, I said to Ben earlier.
Beat Ohio State this year?
Okay, 1 out of 7.
Right.
But Byron Leftwich, to me, would be the guy for a number of reasons. Former Jag player.
Yeah.
Pretty beloved Jags player. He's not in the Mark Brunell status, but pretty good quarterback there for Jacksonville. And as your head coach, former quarterback, whose best interest as a former quarterback do you think he has in mind? Trevor Lawrence. Don't worry about the defense. Don't worry. My whole goal is to protect Trevor Lawrence, make sure he stands upright, has players to throw the football to, and can be the leader of the franchise. I go Byron Leftwich. I think that's a good PR move. I think it's a good coaching move. I would say Byron Leftwich makes a whole lot of sense. Take 2. Oh boy, Brian Kelly last night at the Texas Bowl. They were being interviewed, and he was talking to the coach. Said, "Hey, I got to work on my accent. My family." He said, "Quote: I'm from Boston. We don't have strong accents." Parking his car in the garage during the Texas Bowl. Is Brian Kelly just fake? They also showed the video of him dancing with his 5-star quarterback, by the way.
Oh.
Is he just fake, or is he just clueless when it comes to stuff like this?
He's both. He's both in a lot of ways. I think Brian Kelly realized this, man. Okay, he probably think that when he said the thing about his family, he probably think it worked in his favor because he's not listening to the negativity. He needs one positive, he needs one thing positive being said, and he's good. No one, listen, you are the only person from Boston that don't have an accent. Like, you might not have an accent anymore, but Bostonians definitely have accents. Bostonians tell other Bostonians that don't have accents what happened to you. Now, does Mark Wahlberg have an accent? No, but he's also an actor. He probably had to work on his voice to be able to get roles. But yes, Bostonians do have accents.
Mark Wahlberg absolutely has an accent.
I don't hear when he talks.
Him and his brother died.
Holy cow.
I don't hear it.
No, but it's like this, though. It's like you and I don't think we have accents.
Yeah.
But if we go talk
Have
to
you
somebody,
seen The Departed?
Yeah, if we go talk to
you're right.
somebody not from below Tennessee, they're like, "What did you just say?"
I mean, but think about this though, Christian.
No, Ben was told he has a
Like,
New
Kevin,
York
if
accent.
I was to ask you, hey, did you bring your keys with you? Did you? You would know what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah,
we
100%.
listen, we say fix it too. We say finna.
Finna too.
But think about Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
He'll say, we don't. What do you mean we don't? You spent too much time, in South Bend. You've been there a long time. Number one.
Is there a South Bend accent?
Yeah, I don't
If Brian
know,
Kelly says there's not a Bostonian accent, I would present to him 3 movies: The Departed,
Come on.
The Town,
Come on.
and Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting.
Like, it's like, you like apples?
No.
Yeah.
In his mind, they're putting on.
Have you heard Bill
Burr?
Burr?
For $1.50 at the
Have
library.
you heard
Get
Bill
in this
Burr
house here.
speak? Brian Kelly, have you heard yourself speak?
Yeah.
And in a sense, too, let's go ahead and call it what it
You
really
spent
is.
150 grand on education. You could have got for $1.50 at the library.
No, this is what he's really saying. This is what he's really
So
saying.
Kevin really put this question in there just so he could give us his
but
terrible
this is what
Bostonian
Brian
It's
accent.
Kelly's
true.
saying. Let's call it what it
If
is.
you're going to mock
If you're
somebody,
from
do
the
it
South,
carefully.
if you're from the South, you make fun of people from the North. If you're from the North, you make fun of accents from the South. But the problem is, we can do y'all accent up north. You cannot do it down here because there are different dialects.
What he's
of
worried
Southern
about
accent.
is the accents are fine, but he knows once you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, we'll beat the brakes off you in football. So.
I mean, he better find a way to get some W's or him and his
Yeah, no,
family.
it's embarrassing, and it's
Who's
he is
going to be an SCB today?
no, but
Who
it's
knows?
but it's just like I don't understand why, because he was never like this
No.
at Notre Dame, and so when he took the job at LSU, I was like, this is an amazing hire. Like they just went and flexed on Notre Dame coming in. He could just be Brian Kelly, be the CEO, hire two good coordinators, some great recruiters, and LSU could be back very quickly.
Well-
but if there was one way to step on yourself is to appear fake.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly is absolutely appearing fake. But you know what I'm also getting from him now that he's out of Notre Dame and he's at LSU? Like Lake Dad vibes. Like I want you to picture like a bar on a lake,
Just
like
sandals and
a-
cargo shorts.
cargo shorts, big oversized T-shirt, and a visor. Like tell me Kelly doesn't
Some
look like he.
Croakies on the sunglasses, yeah.
Tell me Brian Kelly doesn't look like he lives on Lake Lanier.
No.
Probably.
No. This is the thing. He lives on Lake Lanier, but no. He has a lake house, but his kids are out there, and he just shows them what you guys need to think. No, Dad, we don't need anything.
No, he's the
from
one
you.
who takes his kids out tubing, and he thinks it's funny to like whip them off the
Yeah.
back of the tube. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I think that'd be fun. He also knows you can't when you're recruiting
Kevin,
at Louisiana.
you also have big Lake Dad vibes.
I
so-
do. That's fine. He also
like-
knows you can't go. Hey, when you're recruiting guys from Louisiana and Alabama, you can't go in there and say, "Sorry, I'm late. Had a little trouble
Hell
with my
yeah,
car.
you can.
Had a little trouble with my car."
Nick Saban has a big Midwestern accent. It's
Yeah, but
fine.
he also has a lot of bling.
Yeah, he got a lot of
He
rings.
did it at the beginning.
Well, okay,
and he,
he
was,
didn't.
and he was recruiting at the same school Brian Kelly's at, and he won a national championship.
He wasn't walking and going, "I had trouble with my car."
Nick Saban's from West Virginia.
If you come to LSU, you'll make lots of dollars in the NFL. I promise.
He went to Kent State.
Come on. He's been southernized. He's been
Give me
here a
another.
long time.
What's another like Bostonian phrase? I'm having too much
No,
fun.
but the best is if you want to have a
Get outta
Boston
here.
accent, say khakis.
Yeah,
Like
the
the thing-
khakis and my
Like
khakis.
the things you wear is you wear a pair of khakis, but Boston they refer to those as your car keys. It's your khakis.
Yeah.
Your khakis.
See?
There you go.
Brian
God.
Kelly, just be quiet.
I
Just
love
my
my-
goodness.
All right, you got to go. We got
Cocky
2 minutes
thing.
for this
Sorry,
last
2 minutes. We got to go. Take 3. Derrick Henry brought off IR, expected back at practice for the Titans tomorrow, just in time for the playoffs in 2 weeks. He has not practiced or played since November 1st. Is a healthy, rested Derrick Henry at the running back position the most dangerous player in the playoffs?
Ben, can we? This is very simple. No, hell no. You can name every player in the NFL besides one. Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the most dangerous player
Yeah,
in the
that's what
playoffs.
I said, listen, Tom Brady, he's probably top 5. Tom Brady, you still got Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, you still got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I'm sorry. Dak is playing pretty well. Trevon Diggs is playing pretty well.
None of it matters. You can say every name in the
Listen,
world.
Tom Brady took a guy. Sunday who had to fill in for Antonio Brown. And what did he do? He kept the game with a touchdown pass. Game over. Thank you, God bless, and good night. Make sure you tip your waitress. It is Tom Brady. Every single time.
I'm still upset that nobody has put the Petey Pablo take your shirt off to the Antonio Brown taking this.
Listen. Antonio Brown calls himself AKA a super criminal. I have seen the movie. I've never had anybody reference it, but hey, the man went to New Jersey and hasn't left yet.
Yeah, but in any conversation when it comes to most dangerous in the NFL playoffs, it's Tom Brady and then everyone else.
Love the fact that Derrick Henry is back though. Shout out to them boys that got the best record in the AFC.
If there was a case either of you could make at the end of the day for a freakazoid running
back.
No,
if you had put the caveat outside of Tom Brady.
Okay, outside of Tom Brady. Where does he rank? Outside.
He's top five.
Top five. You still got A-Rod. You still got. I mean, you still got Patrick Mahomes, boy. You still got Travis Kelce. Somebody got to deal with him.
I don't believe anybody in the Cowboys until they prove something. They're real dangerous in the regular season.
Oh, they're very, very dangerous. And Mike Gallup just went down. Oh, that's gonna hurt them Cowboys.
They don't have real strong accents in Dallas.
No, we don't got accents in Dallas. Everything is just bigger. Everything is smaller in Texas. You ask Brian Kelly.
That's take 3. We do this every day. This time we'll come back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Net. We've all in the break been trying to go through our best Bostonian accent. I think Christian has said, "How do you like them apples?" at least 27 times when it was all said and done.
How you like them apples?
Well, I got a number.
Welcome to Beantown. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like it's gonna be a lot of. I'm just gonna say this right now.
No, Brian Kelly, go watch the movie Ted and tell me that Bostonians don't have an accent.
What are you talking to?
All right, Travis John sent me a text. He said, "Walk your dog with a coffee in my yard."
Yeah.
He said, "Do that in my
Go give me
Boston
a
accent."
coffee.
So, was that close?
Yeah, go give me a call.
Walk your dog, your dog. Dog is or is that New York where they have like 4 syllables?
His whole life talking trash about Southerners. Now he has to live with us. Now he's trying to. Now he can't blend in. Now he's mad. Like the jokes don't really hit the same. My family. And I'm saying to myself, like if you I mean, talk about sucking all the life out the whole arena. People like, oh, my family. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, are you a coach or a country music singer? What the hell was that? Brian Kelly?
No, you're like a 1940s cartoon character.
No, he is. I mean, he answered a question.
He's,
hey, coach.
With the win, Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
He's the Jake Brigance character from Matthew McConaughey. My family.
No,
I mean,
Or is that the old judge?
That's Judge Omar Noose.
My family here.
Bostonians
At
don't have
LSU.
accents.
That's
You can't
Judge
do a
Omar
Southern
Noose.
accent. I mean, I'm just saying, like who?
One more outburst like that, Mr. Bagance, and you're out of here.
Exactly, Mr. Bagans. I mean, that is true though. I mean, Mr. Bagans. Well, if you and Lois Lane are finished over there.
There it is.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like, I mean, you know, it's thanks for coming. But it's Mr. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, Brian Kelly.
What are you just saying?
He has proven this. The Southern accent is the one.
Yes.
That is the hardest one to do. So for everybody to think now, you can't do it, but to say we ain't got no accents up there in Boston. No, you don't.
Yeah. Give it a shot, Christian. Walk your dog with a coffee in my yard. Try
I will do no such thing. I'm not going to stoop to the level of Brian Kelly.
Yeah, walk your dog
Mr. Go
with a coffee in my yard. Is that Boston or New York?
Mr. Bagan.
I can't.
Who is Brian Kelly going to be at SME today? He don't even know who the hell he is.
He'll be from the West Coast.
I'm
What's up, brah?
He's just going to go to the highest bidder, whatever area can pay him the most money.
Here we go, Troy. What up, brah? Here to talk some LSU football. How do you like my Skechers? Come back. Final hour, 3 and Out. It's on the Pigskin Radio Network. We're here from Ben Troop. Good to have you here. 3 and Out, final hour of the show. Ben will sit down with Anthony Becht for this week's edition of Troop Talk. Tight end, played for the Jets, Bucks, and more. And Ben and Anthony talk a little bit of everything. Coming up here in about 15 minutes on the show. Also look at the Falcons and Kyle Pitts 1 year in after that draft pick. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later as well. But Georgia and Bama Monday night, Ben, for the national championship. We talked about how bad Georgia needs to win, how much they want to get over that hump. What will a win do for the legacy of Kirby Smart at Georgia and in college football? And I say that don't just say, well, it'll be huge. But I think that's obvious. But are we talking about Kirby Smart? Is he passing Vince Dooley at that point? I mean, Vince won a national championship. I get it. Legendary figure. I mean, how many did Saban win at Bama before they started talking about, different era of college football, and he's passing, the great Bear Bryant? What does a win Monday night do for Kirby Smart if George is able to get it?
Puts him in legendary status. Not just because he won the national championship, Kevin, but you know what? It's because of where he's doing it at and how long it took to do it. Like, no one thought that it would be a 41-year gap between, when they won it, second time they won it. And look, and it gets them out of the shadow of Mark Richt, because until he wins the national championship, that's who they're going to compare him. They're not comparing him to Vince Dooley until he wins the Natty. Right now, he's being compared to the second greatest, because right now, Kirby Smart is the third greatest coach or third best coach in Georgia history, behind Mark Richt and obviously Vince Dooley. He wins the national championship, that bumps him up to number 2. Now, I think what happens is, too, Kevin, let's face it, Kirby Smart, I mean, he doesn't mind telling you how good his team is, and rightfully so. Pressure is a privilege. But Kevin, just like I know, if you can't win the big one, that's what you get known for. And that's not disrespectful to him. People gonna say, hey, man, if you go to Georgia, if you go to Georgia right now, have gone to Georgia, root for Georgia, people say the same thing. Whenever you get to talking trash, people gonna talk about 1980. And rightfully so. Now, if Kirby Smart can find a way to get it done, Kevin, he's gonna exercise a lot of demons, because something we talked about in the break. It took a lot for him to get here. This is his second national championship against the same team. Only this time, he got to deal with the Heisman Trophy winner, not a Heisman Trophy, a guy that was going to be a Heisman Trophy finalist in Tua. And I think, and listen, and the crazy part about it is, his quarterback has more experience than the other one. I mean, Stetson Bennett has more SEC experience than Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young is obviously the Heisman Trophy winner. I think, Kevin, for Kirby Smart, if he loses this one, right? And I know coaches lose game. I know, losing is a part of it. But Kirby won the SEC championship when he lost the national championship, and Alabama didn't even play in the SEC championship. They played Auburn, and they was able to avenge that one. If he loses, Kevin, it's going to be rough is an understatement, because the thing about Georgia is, and once again, we're not talking about Georgia, the players, talking about the fan base. My God, if you have to deal with them, because Kevin, this is the thing. If Kirby Smart loses, I mean, what does it do for his psyche? Because if you've done all this and you made it back and you win, okay, not to compare the two, but I think about the Braves. It worked. Alex Anthopoulos and those guys, I mean, we made it. We almost made it to somebody said, if we get to the World Series, we good. They made it now, and they won it. They exercised a lot of demons from the Mike Foltynewicz and all this other type of stuff. If Georgia loses, could you say to yourself, man, maybe we just good enough to get there and not win it? Like, those are realistic questions if you can't do it on Monday night.
Well, and again, in the era of college football that we're in right now, in this last little stretch, it's like playing Major League Baseball in the era of Babe Ruth. They're just rolling off championships. It's hard to do it. I mean, everybody in this era of college football is being compared to Nick Saban, rightly or wrongly. It is what it is. Just like every quarterback in the NFL the last 20 years is being compared to Tom Brady. Fair or unfair, right? I mean, is it fair or unfair? Nobody's going to be able to do what those two guys have done in their respective eras. But I do think, as you said, Ben, a win, you exercise so many demons. And again, you will have won a national championship. I realize Vince Dooley will have more SEC titles, even after Monday night, obviously. But you're talking about, you're one of a few coaches to win a national championship. You go back, Wally Butts. I don't know how many people were alive listening when Wally Butts was coaching at Georgia, but you're one of a few guys who will have won a national championship at the University of Georgia. That puts you in big time status. You also, as you said, Ben, is time and place. You will have won a national championship beating the GOAT the all-time guy who finds a way, new coordinator every year, still wins, hard to beat, getting NFL talent all over the place, in Nick Saban. You will have beaten him on the big stage in an era of college football where that doesn't happen. Guys who have coached under him, studied at the feet of the master, so to speak. And Jimbo Fisher is the only guy to do it. And he had to kick a field goal with 2 seconds left to do that. Right? I mean, it's just been unbelievable. And I want to say what is it? The current number of coaches who have won a national championship in college football is Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, Dabo Swinney, Mack Brown, Gus Malzahn. I think that's the list of active head coaches who have won a national championship. Am I wrong? Or not Gus Malzahn?
Gene Chizik. No, he's not.
He's not coaching.
No, I'm sorry.
Active coaches.
No, Gus Malzahn went. He lost.
He lost. So active coaches who've won it. So it's even less than that. So talking about 4 dudes active in all of college football. 2 of those guys are 70 or older who have won a national championship. So you'd be an extremely rare company in terms of coaching in this era of college football, guys who have won a national championship.
Yes.
I think that puts you up there in elite company. To me, it does a lot for Kirby Smart, who's obviously a good recruiter. I don't know if I can say he's a program builder because he left Alabama to go to a team that was winning 9 to 10 years. Now, was Georgia what they were?
No.
But they were still under Mark Richt, had won 10, 11 games. I mean, it was a very good program. He took it to the next level on top of that. So I give him that. I wouldn't go so far as say you were program building as you were accentuating a program that was there and taking it another step. So he has been up there. I think it puts him obviously in that Dabo category of great coaches in this era. To me, it validates a number of things for Kirby Smart with a W on Monday night. A loss, again, I think it brings up the question, and I hate to say like you can't win the big one because people would say that about Mark Richt. I'm like, you won. And again, it's a different argument for Mark Richt because he didn't have the college football playoff. In a couple years, the BCS math didn't work in their favor, but you won SEC championships. Is that, and I've asked people that, is that not a big game? Is the SEC championship not a big game? Kirby's won that. I mean, so I don't know if it's that you haven't won the big game. It's that you have to get over the one team that nobody can seem to beat on a consistent basis in college football right now, and that's Alabama. And that's not anybody's fault. I don't think that's a knock against Kirby saying you can't win the big one. Well, if you can't, nobody can because nobody's been able to consistently get it on Nick Saban while he's been at Alabama. They just haven't been able to do that. If you get over, I think that puts you in big-time company, obviously, for college football coaches. You beat Nick Saban in the national championship. That ain't easy to do.
Think about the guys you just mentioned, though, Kevin. I mean, Urban Meyer got famous, 1, because he was at Florida, 2, because of who he beat Nick Saban. SEC championship game. Dabo Swinney, half because he was at Clemson, other because he beat Nick Saban. I mean, you talk about Gus Malzahn.
But for the longest time, you had the whole Clemsoning thing going on around that.
And I will say this: think about sports in general. People talk about how great Michael Jordan was. What did he had to do? He had to get over the what? Detroit Pistons. Oh, finally got over them. Okay, I'm able to win championships. We talked about Donovan McNabb and the Eagles. 5 straight NFC championship game. Finally got over the hump. Went to the Super Bowl, but had to deal with Tom Brady. I think talk about this Braves team. Yeah, they beat Houston. Had to deal with who? Had to deal with those pesky, those pesky Dodgers. It's that team that's a thorn in your side. It's supposed to be there. I mean, Eli, the brother of Peyton, beat the guy twice that Peyton never could beat. Eli man beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl, but he only had to pay him 1 time, and obviously the team around him. I think when you think about Kirby Smart goes, hey, man, I'm finna leave Alabama, man. Nick Saban, he getting up in age. He gonna leave. Because Nick Saban wanted to show you guys, listen, man. The thing is, it's like this. My grandma used to tell me that just because you got the ingredients to this recipe, you don't make it like me. What? We got the same ingredients. You don't make it like I make it. Because I've been making it longer than you. You got the ingredients, you stir it up, you put it in, you pull it out. No. I told you the ingredients. I don't have to measure mine. That's the thing about Nick Saban. There aren't too many. Think about now, Kevin, he's just adding to his legacy. Look at the picture in the SEC championship. In the college football playoff. He looked mad. He won't even smile because he knows, man, the work never ends. Like people go, why don't Bill Belichick act like he don't like it? Because it's the work that he enjoys. It's the grind. It's the people think I'm getting old, I can't do it anymore. Or I don't got Tom Brady, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it with a rookie quarterback. Or with Nick Saban, I can't do it with a guy that's a freshman and ain't never won the Heisman. I'm telling you, you said it, Kevin, it's a different standard at Alabama. But if Georgia can't do it, this is the thing too. understand what's going to happen. If Kirby Smart does do it, it's going to get ugly for the competition in 2022 no matter what. If Alabama wins on Monday, it's going to get ugly. If Alabama loses, it's going to get even uglier because Nick Saban, Kevin, he don't, back-to-back years is hard for anybody to do, but old St. Nick said, look, man, I never said I couldn't be beat. Hashtag A&M. But the thing about Kirby saw me 4 times, lost 4 times. They swear it's 5th time's the charm now. We'll see. But, Kevin, just like I know, if Georgia don't get it done on Monday, you got to ask yourself, at what point does the mindset of the head coach start trickling down through the players? Because you got the players, got the 5 stars. 5-star players ain't 5-star coaches. They both going to meet on Monday. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And again, it's going to be, a lot to play out there. And again, I think you look back at it and coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, whatever. You had your chance to bump them out back in the SEC championship game, and Alabama's probably not even in this situation. But if Cincinnati beats Alabama, I think Georgia wins. If Georgia wins the SEC championship game, they're playing Michigan, I think Georgia wins. It's that one team that's standing right in your way in Alabama that you have to get through. And again, you kind of say it sounds cliche when you're like, the championship runs through Tuscaloosa, but it does.
It does.
It does, especially for Georgia.
That's not SEC bias. That's not Alabama bias. I think the thing is too. Everybody looks back and says, all Georgia had to do was play cover 2 in the national championship. They win. No, all you got to do is not let a true freshman throw to another true freshman and beat you. That's what you not had to do. Or you can say, listen, when and everybody looks back to certain games. People gonna say, Stetson Bennett gave up one defensive touchdown in the SEC championship game. What about Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean and Walker and those guys and Nolan Smith and those guys? Somebody said this. Did Georgia just get that much better than Alabama in the last month? No. You got the same players, minus John Mechie, but you still got Bryce Young. You got a healthy Brian Robinson. You still got Williams. You still got Will Anderson, who did not show up the last time. It's going to be a heavyweight fight. Everybody can throw a punch. Alabama can take a punch and keep throwing them. We'll see if Georgia's built for 4 quarters on Monday.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll have Troop Talk. When we return, Ben sits down with former NFL tight end Anthony Bett for Troop Talk. They talk a number of things. Antonio Brown, NFL, college football, Anthony Beck's son, quarterback, going to Iowa State. To break all that down and more in Troop Talk next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, thanks for making us a part of your day. Georgia and Bama going to play on Monday night for the national championship. Coming up this weekend, the end of the regular season in the National Football League as well. We'll get ready for the playoffs. Falcons aren't going to go, but could end the season of the New Orleans Saints with a win. Kyle Pitts, don't know. I saw Arthur Smith today said, hey, we're not saying. Maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. Kyle Pitts had a great rookie season, Ben, set records there as a tight end. And you go back to the beginning of the season, I think we were all on the show pretty much in agreement. Hey, you want to go out and get Kyle Pitts. But they had a lot of issues on this Falcons team. You could have said get a tackle, defensive end, a number of issues that could have been addressed. Does the season Kyle Pitts has validate that pick for you? Or do you say you still had other flaws you probably could have addressed without getting Kyle Pitts? Is it validated because he's had one of the best rookie seasons out there?
Yes and no. Yes, it did validate him, Kevin, because, I mean, the highest drafted tight end in NFL history, going 4th overall. And as you mentioned, I mean, you had quarterbacks, you had Michael Parsons. You had some guys out there that you could have went out there and addressed. You look at what A.J. Terrell has done in his second year. Could you have added, a cornerback on the other side? But I think no, because Kyle Pitts proved that he is a very, very gifted athlete coming into the league to where tight ends are being utilized for what they do athletically catching the football. But no, because it showed just how many holes it is, Kevin. Like, my goodness, it's like this Falcons team had a receiver at running back that led the team in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. And the thing about it, it's who he's replacing though. Julio Jones, no longer there. You're gonna hear about that a lot. But this team had a lot of holes. No one saw Calvin Ridley deciding to step away from his mental health, and we applaud him on that. No one saw Dante Fowler again not having a stellar season. No one saw A.J. Terrell stepping into his second year and having a monster season. Kyle Pitts is about as good as advertised. Only problem is he has 1 touchdown. See, the woes for this Atlanta offense is, in the red zone, in the green zone, in the money zone. They're not getting it done. Kyle Pitts, I mean, he broke Mike Dicker record, even though Mike Dicker did it in 14 games. Kyle Pitts did it in 16 games. He's a great talent. But I think what happens with this team, Kevin, you want less about the individual performance and more about the collective. And the thing is, Kyle Pitts is somebody to build around. But Kyle Pitts, I said this, Kyle Pitts is going to benefit more from having a veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan than Matt Ryan is going to benefit from Kyle Pitts because Matt Ryan has had Tony Gonzalez, right? And even though Kyle Pitts broke Tony Gonzalez's record for most yards in the season, it ain't leading to more wins. It ain't leading to more points on the board. So Kyle Pitts definitely validated his position as far as like being the highest drafted tight end in NFL history. But no, because he can only do his part, Kevin. I mean, think about it. He can only go out there and catch the ball. He can't block for Matty Ice. He definitely can't tackle the opposing team. He definitely can't sack the opposing quarterback. So, yes, he validated. I think the young man is about as good as advertised when you talk about what he does, what he's built to do. They're not forcing him to be something he's not. But, Kevin, just like I know, when the thing you drafted high makes you look good because it worked out, what about the other guys out there? And I'm not saying that Kyle Pitts is the best player on the team. He just had a stellar rookie season. But running back, O-line, D-line, linebackers, that off season and the draft is going they're gonna have to do a lot. But yes, Kyle Pitts for 1 season, yes, Kevin. I mean, what else can you do but go out there and have over 1,000 yards receiving, lead your team in receiving yards, and be a focal point. And more was added to him once Calvin Ridley left. Like they're gonna feature him even more. But hey, he lived up to it. He didn't fold under the pressure. And I know he's probably not gonna play on Sunday. But if these Falcons can find a way to keep those pesky Saints from going to the freaking playoffs, that would be something to go into the offseason feeling good about.
Yeah, and again, this Falcons team, again, I just brought that up because he's had such a great season. And you could say you took Kyle Pitts. Was it a necessity you took Kyle Pitts? I think at the time, not necessarily. It was a luxury pick, right? Because you still had Calvin Ridley. You felt like, hey, maybe this team could trade back and get a running back. Maybe this, offensive line help, defensive line help. A number of ways you could have gone, and the Falcons went for the splash pick. Hey, we got Kyle Pitts, highest drafted, as you said, tight end ever. And it seems to have worked out. And a lot of times you say, well, that validates it. Well, as you said, Ben, did that move alone lead you to more wins? Did that move alone make you better in the short term. I think it may be more of a long-term move, but we'll see how that plays off into the draft this year. Just interesting. It's revisionist history. I get it. You go back, it's already happened, but it's what people do. You look at it and say, was it worth it? Was it worth it? People will say, I remember at the time, Ben, a lot of people said that. Was it worth it to mortgage your draft for Julio Jones? I remember people saying, oh, nope, you just went Saints on it. You put all your stock, you traded away all these draft picks, you mortgaged your future for Julio Jones. Worth it, right? I mean, it turned out that it was worth it to do that. And you didn't give up a lot like that for Kyle Pitts, but a lot of people said, really? You can't rush the passer. You can't block your quarterback. You lost Julio Jones. You don't have a running back, and you're going to bring in a tight end. I think it's proved, it validated that pick from the front office there for the Falcons.
It did. Kyle Pitts is never ever going to be what Julio was in this Falcons offense, but who can be that? And I think all Kyle Pitts can do is go out there and make plays when his number's called, and that's what he did. He learned a lot as a rookie because you got a guy, Matty Ice, is going to be very, very demanding on him. He's coming in, Kevin, very highly taught. And when you think about the Travis Kelces of the world, the Darren Wallers of the world, the George Kittles of the world, guys who are, the Mark Andrews of the world, the tight end position has changed. He's benefited from that change. This offseason, they had tight end U up there in Nashville, ran by Travis Kelce and George Kittle. Kyle Pitts, one of those guys that got invited. The tight end position went from being tolerated to celebrated. And Kyle Pitts benefited from the celebration of the tight end position. He's going to have to continuously get better. But 66 catches, over 1,000 yards, the one touchdown, you're going to have to, improve on that in 2022. But yes, Kevin, he gave you 1,000 yards. You give me any receiver drafted in the first round. What you looking for? 1,000 yards. Why? That means he's out there being productive game in and game out. Now, if you look at his counterpart though, if we're gonna compare, apples to apples, when you talk about Ja'Marr Chase has 1,400 yards, but he has 13 touchdowns. So what I'm saying is you're gonna have to get in the end zone. What affects the scoreboard is points, not yards, not first downs, points. So I do know that Kyle Pitts understands what it is. He did incredible as a rookie. The young man, the young man is out there just making it happen, Kevin. And listen, Kevin, if you Kyle Pitts, for the 4th overall pick that, the Atlanta Falcons select, Kevin Thomas. It's not your fault when you got drafted. It's your job to go out there and make it happen. He coming into the league and he know if he's giving me 1,000 yards as a rookie, he's gonna have to, and hopefully he gets better and better. I mean, who knows what he's gonna end up doing? But yeah, shout out to Kyle Pitts, find a way to get it done, leading all tight ends, and definitely I think is in the top 10 in receiving for all receivers included. Incredible season.
We've got more to come here. 3 and Out on this Wednesday, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Counting down the days till the national championship game will be upon us. Georgia and Alabama. Appreciate Mark Bradley, AJC sports columnist, joining us here on 3 and Out earlier today. Wrote a column today. Stetson Bennett need not defend himself. I'll do it for him. So we can check that out. AJC.com. Also, Sean Pender, Brunswick High head football coach. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, and Ben sat down with Anthony Beck for this week's edition of Troop Talk. So if you missed any of that, you can go to ESPNCoastal.com, go to our YouTube page. You can get an archive version of the show there as well. So a lot of things you may have missed. You can go back and check them out each and every day. Our YouTube page, ESPNCoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, etc., iTunes. Check out 3 and Out each and every day. Tonight, Ben, we got a little hoops action. Hawks are on a West Coast swing. Hawks are at Sacramento. Then the Lakers on Friday. Hawks, though, 12th in the East, but they have been ravaged by the COVID protocols. I think a couple of weeks ago, they were down to like 7-8 healthy players, and we're bringing up guys that people are like, who's that? But now starting to get back healthy. I think they just said John Collins going to be back in LA for the weekend games against the Clippers and Lakers. So starting to get healthy. We'll see if they get it turned around.
Trying to find a way to put some wins together, Kevin. You know how it's up and down. We talk about the NBA season, so many games in the season. I think it's real similar to the All-Star break in baseball, right? You want to make sure that you not peaking, but you want to make sure you still got a shot, after the All-Star break. But yeah, still a very, very young team. Trae Young we were talking about it yesterday, Kevin. I think a budding young superstar on the team is always going to be scratching the clawing for respectability, as well as trying to get back to the playoff consistently and to hopefully, compete with those Milwaukee Bucks in an Eastern Division that everybody thought would go down once LeBron went to the West Coast. But hey, man, Coach McMillan, he's doing about as good a job as he can do with this young Hawks team being led by Trigger Trey. But hey, man, you can get a big win against them Lakers led by LeBron James, who at 37 years old still getting it done. But that's obviously that's on the weekend. Hopefully, go out there with them Sacramento Kings who've been bad a long time. Try to find a way to get back to your winning ways to build some confidence before you get to LA this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if they can get it turned around. I think they've had one of the toughest goes so far. But again, 12th in the East out of 15 teams, not where they expected to be at this stage of the season, but a chance to get it turned around. As you said tonight, they've been playing pretty good, just haven't been able to close, and they're finally starting to get a full healthy complement of a roster back here over the last couple of days. But we appreciate you joining us. Obviously getting ever closer to Georgia and Alabama. We're going to talk with a couple of Georgia greats tomorrow on the show, former Georgia Bulldogs. So looking forward to that. Rennie Curran going to join us tomorrow on the show. So looking forward to that talk with them ahead of the national championship game.
Rennie Curran, author. What is it? Was it author, guest speaker, one of the best linebackers ever, hitting machine? No, it's always good to talk to former Georgia guys so they can tell you just how much they're trying to get over there. They're trying to get over a game they have nothing to do with on Monday, which I hope, Georgia does. We'll see.
Absolutely. So much to get to as we roll on throughout the week. Also, the final weekend in the National Football League. So much to get to as we go into our Thursday. Again, if you missed any portion of the show, go to our YouTube page, ESPNCoastal.com, Apple Podcasts. You can get a podcast version of the show each and every day. And we will see you tomorrow, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.